What's going on, y'all? Thank you for checking in with Callie. Please like, subscribe if you haven't. So I have to say, the comments that Paul George said about Kawhi Leonard after the game, since the Philadelphia 76ers fell to the Clippers, in which I said they would prior to that. So kudos to me. I was almost right on the score too. But I feel like the comments that Paul George made really carries no weight at this point. And I mean, really, I just really can't believe he's actually saying this now in regards to Kawhi Leonard and everything about the Clippers after he made his decision. So if you haven't read, you can look pretty much all on any site, but Paul George speaks on, his loyalty to Kawhi, and he felt like he never was going to leave the Clippers because of Kawhi, because Kawhi went out, vouched for him and said, get this guy, put this guy on our team. This guy is a guy who could help me and help us win a championship, things of that nature. And, Paul George feel like he's forever indebted, to Kawhi or like, owing Kawhi or something like that, just because of what Kawhi did and how Kawhi showed him love, unlike probably any other player in the league has, especially a player of Kawhi's caliber who's won championships, who's up there, who's mentioned with the greater greats, and who is a top 75 player. So, I mean, when you get that type of gratitude or, goodness, I guess, from a player of his caliber, it just makes you look at yourself a little bit different and, carry yourself a little bit different. And I think while I think that's a good thing, but Paul George saying that, but I also think it's a waste of time of him saying this now because it doesn't really matter. You chose the money over friendship. And that's just really what it is. Because if the friendship was really the factor, you would have took the money that the Clippers were offering to give you, which was $30 million a year. And was it 25 to 30 million per year for like a 2 or 3 year contract, and you would have just kept it at that. And then it was something about a no trade clause. I think Paul George was talking about, in the offseason on Podcast P, and then all the things that he was saying about, the Clippers are a B team, they're not an A team, they're not an A class team, and all these type things. But now he's trying to walk it back because he sees that the season that the 76ers are having so far doesn't look like a promising one. So I guess now he's walking some of those comments back and kind of sort of feeling maybe a little bit, sorrowful, or maybe sorrow, because, he feels like, hey, we're not starting how we should. I'm not feeling my best. I'm injured. Joel Embiid is going to not play back-to-backs. And plus he's suspended for 3 games. Plus he has injuries. Tyrese Maxey has a hamstring injury now. He's going to be out for at least about a week or 2, maybe longer. So when you look at the state of the team of the 76ers, it's nothing but time for Paul George to feel sorry and feel sorrow for a lot that's happened in the position that he's in now. It doesn't look as fruitful as it did going into the situation. Now it looks like, damn, he should have just basically stayed on the Clippers, because think about it. You chose the money over Kawhi Leonard and the friendship of you and Kawhi and the organization that took a chance on you because of Kawhi, which is the Clippers. But you go to a team with the 76ers where you have a superstar who's just as injured as Kawhi Leonard, not as accomplished, and it's more drama with Joel Embiid than it is promising efforts. It really is. I mean, because we could sit here and talk about Kawhi all day long about how injury prone he is, this and that, but it doesn't really matter. Kawhi already proved himself. He proved that he's a 2-time champion. He proved that he is the elite of the elite. And last year, 68 to 70 games last year, he looked like one of the best players in the league, top 3 in the league. And for a stretch, he looked like the best player in the league. It wasn't even close. So, I mean, we know what Kawhi can do. We've seen him do it over and over and over. And we've seen him at the top of his game in the playoff time. And that's what everybody's used to. So that's the reason why everybody's panicking, because they want to see him play to that level again, because we know what we saw in Toronto. We know what we saw on the San Antonio Spurs. And we know what type of defensive guy he can be and the type of impact player he can be on the floor. So I definitely understand, Paul George always revering, looking up to Kawhi Leonard, because Kawhi is like a big brother in a way that, that Paul George might not ever had, even though I think Paul George is older than Kawhi, but he kind of looks at Kawhi as a bigger brother because, Kawhi is way more accomplished and he's just a better player overall when healthy. So, I mean, I get it, but I don't like the fact of him bringing this stuff up now because it just doesn't carry no weight. I mean, like I said, you chose the money over friendship. And to me, that a lot of times In some people's eyes, that could be the best way. But in this situation, it wasn't the best way because you went to a team, the Philadelphia 76ers, as I said, with a superstar who's just as injured and who's not half as accomplished as Kawhi Leonard. So you're basically in the same predicament. And you're in Philadelphia, a place that's much colder. The weather is not the same. And all your family is from L.A. So, I mean, if you connect the dots, he should have stayed in L.A. just because of the comfortability, the family being here, everything, and, just kind of ride it out and see what happens. And then, if things didn't work out with the Clippers, maybe he could have went to the Warriors or the Lakers. I mean, even though those were teams that were put out there that the Clippers were looking to trade him to, especially the Warriors, especially if they could have got Jonathan Kuminga and a few others that they actually would have liked, they would have traded Paul George to the Golden State Warriors. Because, I mean, obviously, Paul George wasn't happy with the contract numbers that they gave him, so they were going to, put Paul George somewhere else if he wasn't happy with the Clippers. So, I mean, it's so much that goes into this. And I feel like, Paul George, I mean, you never know. It's still early in the season. Maybe the Philadelphia 76ers can get right and get healthy and maybe make a run because a lot of people, pointed them as one of the teams to win the championship this year or in the mix of winning a championship because of all the talent that they have. And you add Paul George with that, on paper, they look like a championship team. So, I mean, but what people got to realize sometimes is just because you look like a championship team on paper, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to pan out to be that way. So, I mean, you got to kind of look at it from both angles, just because, you have the talent, you got to build the chemistry though, and that's just the way it is. Talent versus chemistry is two different things. You can have all the talent in the world on a team, but if the chemistry isn't there, the camaraderie isn't there, then you're not going to go far. And especially if the health isn't there. So, I mean, right now, the health is not on their side. Tyrese Maxey out a couple weeks. Paul George is ailing. Joel Embiid is fighting reporters along with his injuries and along with him saying that he's not going to play back-to-backs. I mean, it just doesn't look very promising in the land of Philly right now, not when it comes to basketball. They might have a better chance at football, with Jalen Hurts in them, but basketball really doesn't look that promising right now. So, I mean, honestly, if I were Paul George, I would have just stayed where I was. I mean, I said that in the offseason as well. You know what I'm saying? Because at this point for Paul George, it really shouldn't be all about the money. It should be about winning championships. And I can tell you this much. He probably has a better chance maybe of winning a championship, or at least I thought he did, had a better chance of winning a championship with the Clippers than he does with the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, that could be I could be proven wrong at the end of the season going to the playoffs. And if I'm wrong, I'll take that. But at the same time, I just don't see them getting far with the less chemistry that they're going to have because all three of them haven't been on the floor at the same time yet. And honestly, Paul George hasn't been on the floor with Tyrese Maxey that much yet. So, I mean, it's like the chemistry, when is it going to build? And you remember, you got to build this chemistry as quickly as possible because the season goes by quick. Before you know it, it's, all-star game, trade deadline, then you got the playoffs, and then it's like, Joel Embiid is not playing back-to-back, so that doesn't really help anything. I mean, of course, Kawhi doesn't play back-to-backs, or he wasn't at one time, but, I mean, even Kawhi cleaned that up last year. He played back-to-backs all the time, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's just two different situations, though, because one player is accomplished and was playing back-to-backs, wasn't playing back-to-back because of his knee injuries and injuries that he had. But he already won championships, whereas Joel Embiid is making this decision, and he ain't won a damn thing yet. So, I mean, it's like, it's you could say pick your poison, but honestly, I would have just stayed with the Clippers if I was Paul George. I think that would have been the better route. But neither here nor there. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I think the Sixers are 1-6 and the Clippers are 4-4. I mean, honestly, the Clippers look a lot better than their team with less talent, supposedly. And it's a mess over there in Philly. And like I said before, I don't think nobody in the East is built to beat the Celtics, honestly. I think the Celtics might go back to the finals again. I wouldn't even be surprised. So, I mean, with all this being done, all that's been said, I mean, Kawhi is just probably sitting back and just collecting all this stuff in, trying to get healthy. Hopefully he gets healthy enough to run with the Clippers and see what they can do. But, I mean, right now for Paul George, your words carry no weight, bro. Stay in Philly. Because nobody wants you in L.A. no more.